And we welcome to the panel a one-time scribe in this town for the other guys as well as the Chicago Tribune, now running his own firm and the author of a new book, Parish the Thought. John Ruane joins us. John, thanks so much. And first of all, let's take a quick look at the book there. And
sure.
It's a now it's available everywhere. Is that right?
It's available at bookstores all across Chicagoland, and also they can get it on the website, which is parishthethought.com. And that's P-A-R-I-S-H.
Exactly right. Now, did you grow up a Sox fan or a Cubs fan?
I was a big Sox fan growing up on the southwest side of the city. As a matter of fact, there's a story in here about a Cubs fan in my neighborhood, which is pretty funny,
yeah.
I think, because it's this guy had a thing for Jack Brickhouse and hated Jack Brickhouse, and I hope folks will read it because they'll get a kick out of it, whether they are a Cubs or a Sox fan.
All right, we're going to get a little bit more into the book a little bit later on in the show, but you're, again, a sports writer here in this town, so you know it very well. Yep. John Garland and the White Sox. We'll keep our eyes on it. And, John, before we get out of here, I want to talk about your book, Parish the Thought. Tell us why you wrote this book, and tell us a little bit about what it's about. I think some people find it very interesting.
Parish the Thought is an inspirational memoir of growing up Catholic in the 1960s, and it's really an experience that so many in the Chicagoland area, as well as around the country, can relate to. Going to Mass on Sunday, Catholic grammar school, as well as altar boy stories. These are all things that, a lot of people have gone through. And, the reaction we've gotten on the book so far from preview copies is that they like the sense of humor, they like that it's easy to read, and they can relate to the stories. So, so far it's got a tremendous reaction. The one thing I'll say, in terms of like the main story of the book, it's really about a Catholic boy who is very sincere and devout Catholic, which is me. And then tragedy strikes and lose my faith and step away from the church. And then I won't tell you what happens after that, but it does have an inspirational, positive ending, which people like as well.
And the idea of writing a book like this, I'd imagine too, is you kind of go through not only your religious journey and your faith, but also about life and dealing with a lot of things that Chicagoans are very familiar with.
Absolutely. And I just think now, I've got 4 kids. Our lives are so different now than they were back in the 60s and the 70s. It was a much simpler time back then. It's so stressful right now, the pressure they put on kids. This is a time to be documented, not only by me, but, several others as well. And
Ruane Communications, now you're down in Atlanta?
Yes.
Very successful with that as well. Congratulations on that.
Thanks very much. We work with a lot of different celebrities.
And before we get out of here, we've got about a minute left. I want you to tell us a real quick Roger Clemens story, because you work with him.
Well, the story that's the best story I have about him was in 2005. After his mother died, he invited me to the funeral and everything. And after they spoke at the gravesite, we stepped away. And Roger knows I'm a White Sox fan. And the first thing he said was, "Hey, man, what happened to your White Sox?" Because the Cleveland Indians had just, put pressure on him. And I said, "Well, the Indians have been really hot, Roger." And then I said, "It could be you and the Astros against the White Sox in the World Series." He said, "Yeah, it could be." And he says, "But I got a little thing back here pointing to his left leg, and that little thing turned out to be the hamstring that really hurt him in the World Series."
And well, there you have it, man. Hey, John, best of luck with the book. It's available at bookstores everywhere. Online, where you can find it?
Parishthethought.com or Amazon as well.
There you go. Thanks, John. That's it for today's edition of Chicago Tribune Live, presented by your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers. Thanks to our guests today, David Hall and Melissa Isaacson of the Tribune, author John Ruane, and NBA Hall of Famer Earl of Pearl Monroe. Sports Night is next, followed by the Sox and the Yankees at 7. So long, everybody.